Hello everyone, thank you for clicking to watch this video. This is Get Ready and Get Weird with Marcella. That's me, I am Marcella. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we are talking about my very favorite kind of snake, the hognose snake. We will talk about both the Western and Eastern hognose snakes. Those can be found in North America. There are a few other different hognose snakes, but these are the two that we're talking about today. I have enjoyed interacting with a couple hognose snakes that were in captivity, so I've never run into one in the wild, but they have been one of the most docile and chill snakes that I've interacted with. I really like how they feel. They're kind of, in my opinion, and I'm not a herpetologist, but in my opinion, they are soft. They kind of feel like a soft suede. They have an interesting looking face. Their little noses are so cute, and they're beautiful. I like reptiles. I think they're very cool. These particular animals, these hognose snakes, are not at risk of endangerment. They're abundant in the wild. So a little bit different than the other animals that we've covered on this channel so far, but because they're my favorite and I feel like snakes in general are a very feared animal and sometimes misunderstood animals, I thought it would be good to cover a fairly friendly snake. Snakes aren't really friendly, but a fairly chill snake, and a snake that is not dangerous to us, but technically is venomous. So today we will talk about the differences between Eastern and Western snakes, where you can find them. We'll talk a little bit about their diet. We will talk about the debate of whether they should be classified as venomous, because they are venomous, but they're not dangerous. So there's a debate about that. We'll talk a little bit about it in the video, and then we'll also cover a bit about keeping a hognose snake in captivity. They are a common pet. With that being said, I'm so glad that you're here, and let's talk about hognose snakes. Hello everyone, I'm here with my clean face, ready to talk to you about my favorite kind of snake, the hognose snake. So let's jump right in and get started talking about these snakes. So I mentioned that there are two kinds, the Eastern and Western hognose snake. Bozzy has been napping in her chair, so prepare to hear snoring, prepare to hear little barks if she deems barking necessary this morning. I talked about the fact that there are two different hognose snakes that live in North America, and they are separated into the Eastern and Western hognose snake. The Eastern hognose snake is found, as you would assume, in the Eastern United States, from Florida to the New England states. It's also found in Georgia. It's found in southern Canada. It's also found in the Great Lakes region of the United States. The Eastern hognose snake is usually yellow, gray, green, brown, or black, and then it has rectangle spots down its back. The Eastern hognose snakes prefer coastal areas, farmland, sandy soil, woodlands, or fields. So those are the Eastern hognose snakes. The Western hognose snake, as you would assume, lives in the western part of the United States. They can live in New Mexico, Arizona. They also can live in southern Canada, Texas, and down into Mexico as well. So they basically, wherever you live in the US, if you live in the US, wherever you live in North America, you could theoretically find a hognose snake near you. So lucky us. These snakes are docile, so meeting one in the wild is not going to end badly for a human. They are not dangerous to humans. The Western hognose snake is probably going to be a yellowish or light brown color, and then have blotches down its back, like large blotches down the center of its back, and then in rows next to those on its sides, smaller blotches as well of like a darker color as contrasting camouflage. The Western Hognose prefers like a shrubbery, prairie, sandy, loose soil, good for burrowing. Speaking of burrowing, that is what their nose is used for. The upturned hog nose snout that we see is used for digging, looking for food, shelter, and for a good place to lay eggs. So both the Western and Eastern Hognose snake have those upturned snouts. I'm gonna try something different makeup wise today, and I think I'm gonna not do my normal baking powder. My face has seemed a little bit dry this morning and scaly maybe. Okay, maybe not scaly. I'm just trying to relate it to the snakes, but yeah, I think I'm gonna try no setting powder and see what we think. And by we, I mean me, because it's my face. So we have talked about the differences between the Western and Eastern Hognose snakes. Mostly it's where you can find them. They're not strikingly different looking, but it's where you would find them living is the biggest difference, in my opinion. Again, not a herpetologist sitting here in front of you. Something that is not exclusively unique to hognose snakes, but something I find intriguing about hognose snakes is that they will rarely bite humans. Again, we're going to talk about whether or not they should be classified as venomous, but they are not. Their defense mechanism is not to bite a predator or what they deem a threat, which a giant two-legged walking toward them would probably seem threatening to them. Valid. I agree. But they are likely not going to actually bite us or any other threat. What they'll do is puff up, they suck in air and kind of flatten their heads out to try to feign as if they were like maybe a viper or something, or a more dangerous snake, and then kiss and lunge or strike at their threat, but rarely actually biting, rarely actually even opening their mouth. Their mouth normally remains closed for this. But for me personally, as a human that would probably be deemed a threat by a hognose snake, that I would leave. Bye. You don't have to tell me twice. Lunge right at me once and I'm good as gone. Thank you for asking. Goodbye. Sorry to bother you, you little cutie. Get out. I'm leaving. Bye. Sorry for bothering you. Bye. See you later. So smart humans probably would go ahead and leave that snake there alone. Obviously, I am not invited to its habitat party today. That's their first line of defense. It's a bluff. They're not actually going to bite. They are just trying to act tough and scare you away. If, let's say, I thought that was funny and decided to stick around and try my luck with this obviously agitated snake, the next line of defense that a hognose snake will likely do is to play dead, like a possum kind of, which, good one. So it rolls over on its back, its tongue will loll out of its mouth, it will lay there. And I read, I've never seen this in person, so all of this is just by reading, but I read that sometimes its tongue will loll out of its mouth and then it will poke its head up after it feels like it's been laying there long enough and see if the threat is gone. And if the threat isn't gone, it'll continue laying there. Like if you pick it up and try to flip it over on its belly, because it lays on its back when it plays dead. If you pick it up and try to lay it on its belly, it'll flop right back over. Sorry. And then it's so cute to me that they pretend like they're dead. Okay. And then if it like pokes its head up and sees that there's nobody around, it gets up and goes away really fast. It slithers away. So to me, that's, you know what? It's smart. I don't even judge it. Possums also do this type of thing. So obviously it works. It's a fine defense mechanism. Another defense mechanism that many snakes have and use is expressing itself. So it might express snake musk or poop. That it's an awful smelling liquidy substance, and it can also detract a predator from harming the snake. And I have been musked on by a snake, not by a hognose snake, and it's awful. It smells horrid. Do not recommend that. Don't do that. No. If you can avoid being musked on by a snake, good for you. All right, so we talked about the upturned snout, so the hognose snake's namesake, and we mentioned that they were used for digging and burrowing. The food that they might be digging for, looking for, are normally toads. Their number one favorite food. Do snakes have favorite food? I mean, I guess they probably do. Why wouldn't they? But their number one favorite food or preferred food is toads. So some of us probably know that toads produce a toxic substance that oozes, is expressed out of their skin. And so that's their defense mechanism against predators. So many animals won't eat toads because toads are poisonous to them to eat. But the hognose snake neutralizes this toxin physiologically, and they're able to eat toads. They use their fangs, which sit farther back in their mouth. They're not quite at the front like you see in a lot of different snakes. Hognose snakes' fangs are towards the back of their mouth, whereas many other snakes' fangs are towards the front, and you can see them more easily. Hognose snakes use those fangs to pop a toad when they're puffed up, makes it easier to swallow. And so that's their number one favorite thing to eat. That's their preferred. If they're looking for food, they're like, cool, if I could find me a toad, we would be set. Besides toads, they'll also eat frogs, salamanders, small mammals, so like mice, like what you'd expect many snakes to eat. They will eat invertebrates, they will eat other reptiles' eggs. So they do have a wide variety in their diet, but again, everywhere I looked said that these snakes love to eat toads. So do with that what you will. Besides digging to burrow or find food, they also will dig to lay their eggs. They'll lay their eggs kind of in like a little shallow depression in the ground. And when they lay eggs, they lay about 15 to 17. And they're like long little oval eggs, like long elongated little eggs. I also did not mention these snakes can get up to 3 feet long, but most are shorter than that. Ooh, okay. Cool. So for the eye makeup look today, I'm going with like neutral browns, a black eyeliner. Maybe I might add a little bit of black smokiness. We're not gonna go crazy like we did for the hydrothermal vents. We're not doing another smoke show here today. I don't have the energy to fix it if I do that. But I thought I would add a wing and then just neutral browns and yellows and golds and colors that you might see a hognose snake wearing on their scales. Okay, so that's that for the wing. small debate in the herpetology community about hognose snakes. And that debate revolves around whether or not hognose snakes should be classified as venomous. Technically, hognose snakes do produce venom, so many would argue, yeah, we should classify them as venomous. They make venom. Literally, that means that they are venomous. Correct, I agree. But there's a small caveat, because hognose snakes are not dangerous. While yes, they produce venom, no, they are not dangerous to humans. And when you classify something as venomous, it automatically, in many people's minds, is then considered dangerous. When something is classified as venomous, then considered dangerous, it's more likely to be killed. When spotted in the wild by humans, it's more likely to have laws banning it from being kept as a pet. It'll be just less protected in general, because when we know as humans that something is venomous, we are more fearful of it. And again, we're more likely to, slice a rattlesnake's head off with a shovel when we see it, because it's venomous and it could hurt us, than we are a garter snake or a king snake. So classifying a hognose snake, which is harmless to humans, could be dangerous for the snake. And so many people argue that we should, instead of classifying snakes as venomous or non-venomous, maybe we should try classifying snakes as dangerous or non-dangerous, maybe defining dangerous as could cause harm to life or limb in a human. And if that is the definition that we're going to go with, hognose snakes are not dangerous to humans. They do not pose a risk to life or limb for us as humans. If they were to bite us, which again, it's very unlikely that they would bite us because we are not prey to them, so we're a threat to them. We're a predator, we're not, but in their eyes, we could be seen as a predator. We are a threat. We could scare them. So in their eyes, we're not prey. They're not going to bite us to inject us with venom and try to eat us. That's not their plan. So their defense is not to bite us. Their defense is to puff up, try to scare us, and then play dead. And even if they did bite us, their bites, their fangs, again, are further back in their mouth, and their fangs are not hollow. So the venom that they do produce, which again, would not harm us, their fangs are not hollow. They cannot inject their venom through their fangs. Their fangs have ridges on them, and the venom that they produce runs down their fangs, runs along their fangs, and then in order to inject their prey, what they want to eat, the toad they're trying to eat, with enough venom to actually subdue it or harm it at all, they have to almost chew on it. Many people who have watched a hognose snake subdue their prey, they'll say, oh, they chew, unlike most snakes that will bite or constrict. But they don't actually chew. What they're doing is just, they're using their fangs because they don't eject their venom the same way some snakes do. They have to bite multiple times to get enough venom into their prey to subdue it. And that's just not their defense mechanism to humans. They're not gonna chew on us. We're not even an option of food. We're too big for them to eat. So first, their venom is not strong enough or harmful enough to humans to seriously hurt us. It does not threaten our life or limbs. Secondly, even if it was, which again it's not, they have to bite multiple times in order to get enough venom into their prey to kill it. And again, let's remember that their prey are much smaller: mice, toads, frogs, invertebrates. So if they have to chew on them for a while, they're not gonna be able to do that to us. If they do feel threatened by a human and they strike at them, the likelihood of them actually biting is low. But let's say that they do actually bite it's the rare occasion you caught them on a day that they felt like biting. Their first quick bite, which is likely what they would do to a threat, if they did even bite a threat, is likely going to be dry or no venom or very little venom, because again, they do not have those hollow fangs that can like shoot venom out. They do not eject venom very well under stress, and if they are feeling threatened, they're under a lot of stress. Okay, I don't hate this whole look going on without setting powder. I feel a little shiny, which is different because I normally have set all my makeup with powder, all my wet makeup, which kind of neutralizes the shine, but I don't hate it. So, in the argument of whether or not they're venomous or non-venomous, technically, yes, they are venomous. Can't argue that. They are venomous. But in the argument of whether or not they are dangerous, they are not dangerous to either life or limb for us as humans. They're not. They're not. And they're very docile snakes. They're not really, they're kind of chill. Just chilling, just looking for some toads. The ones that I've handled have been very relaxed. I've never seen one, I've never seen the fake show they put on when they're scared, personally. And again, not a herpetologist. I've never run across one in the wild, so that's likely where they would show this sort of behavior. I'm not by any means an expert, but I have interacted with quite a few snakes in captivity, and of them, the hognose that I've interacted with was on the very chill side of snakes I've met. All right, let's finish up talking about these snakes in captivity. Because hognose snakes, they're not like a climbing snake, so they don't need a lot of height in their captivity, in their tank that they're living in, but they do need quite a bit of like ground space, so space where they could slither around and then maybe bury themselves in some sand. So a 30 to 40 gallon aquarium is fine for them in captivity, is sufficient, I guess I should say. You'd want to put sand and maybe some rocks, definitely a few hiding spots. Snakes all like hiding spots and rocks they can go under, little rocks with like a little cutout, like a little hut for them to hide in. So sandy ground, plenty of space in their aquarium, some hiding spots, and of course, water. They, being cold-blooded, of course, would need some form of heat. So a heating element, whether that be a light, or in the past I've used like a little heater that sticks, you can stick it on the wall of your aquarium, you can put it on the bottom of your aquarium, but just somewhere that they can go to warm up if they needed to. Even though in the wild, these snakes prefer toads, in captivity, you could feed them pre-killed mice. In the wild, the reason they prefer toads is because they're fairly easy to catch for them. Any food that is fairly easy for them to get is fine to feed them in captivity. So a pre-killed mouse. Some snakes that you keep in captivity, you can kind of put their food in there and they're gonna stay in their hidey hole, and then they'll come out later after you've kind of left them alone. They're kind of shy eaters, you could say. And hognose snakes in general, again, every individual snake is different, but hognose snakes in general are more of an eager eater. So when you're feeding a hognose snake in captivity, you probably will want to use like tongs or something to put the food in there. Most of the time when you are feeding your pet snake, if you have a pet snake, that is when you're going to get bitten, if you're gonna get bitten. And they're not gonna be trying to bite you, they're going to be trying to bite their food. But hognose snakes, they did specify in a few of the articles that I read, are eager eaters, so when you're feeding them in captivity, just use tongs. In the past, with a snake that I've kept, he was not an eager eater. He was kind of a shy eater, so I was able to put the mouse in there, put it where I wanted it. He would come out later and he'd eat it either when I wasn't looking or after I had left it there for a while, and he felt safe and not vulnerable. So just kind of knowing if you're going to keep a snake, knowing their eating habits can be important. Maybe I'll use this lip gloss today. Ooh. Cute. Let's see. Did I get all my teeth? Okay, well that's that for the look. I don't know how I feel. I feel a little shiny because I didn't use my normal powder. It's always weird to do like a different step in your makeup, but I've been wanting to do this, do a little bit of a glowier look. I know that that's kind of in style these days, but sometimes you find what you like and it's your style, so. Oh, Wes. She just laid down back there. So she moved the whole background. All right, everyone, that is what I have for you today in regards to hognose snakes, both Eastern and Western, the hognose snakes that you can find in North America. This is probably my favorite snake, how docile and chill these snakes are. Plus, they're cute. Look at their little noses. I just think they're adorable. So they are not a threatened species. They are abundant in nature. I feel like talking about snakes and not dangerous snakes and different kinds of snakes can help to shed light and intrigue on a very almost misunderstood animal. So many people are fearful of snakes, and honestly, rightfully so. You know, it's a natural instinct for us to be nervous when we see a snake. That is just a evolutionary response of, oh wait, I have to make sure that I'm okay and I survive, fight or flight type of situation. But knowledge is power. That's all I gotta say. Knowing more, the more you know, the more you understand, the more you can read the, you know, the behaviors of nature, of animals, and understand that snake is scared. I'm going to give it its space instead of let's get a closer look. We talked about some of the differences between Eastern and Western hognose snakes. We talked about whether or not they should be considered classified as venomous and why they maybe wouldn't be. They are technically venomous, but they're not dangerous to humans, life or limb. We also talked about what they like to eat, as well as if you were going to have one in captivity, what that might be like and what would be a good starting point for their habitat in your home. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed the cute pictures of these snakes and their cute little noses. I also hope that you like, subscribe, and share this channel and this video with anyone who you think would enjoy it. I really appreciate you clicking to watch. Thank you so much for being here, and stay weird.